Hello and welcome to the Hugh Hatrick Show here live in the UK for our chat show about Formula One and GT7. And a very warm welcome to my special guest, as always, it is Roo. How are you doing, Roo?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Sorry, the stream just started in my ears as well, so I just had to mute it.
Ah,
I'm doing very well. I'm okay. Still
good to see you.
alive.
Good to see you. It's been quite a good. We had a great race yesterday. I have to say, the racing is getting better. I think the Grand Prix are getting a lot more intense, a bit closer, a bit more interesting. And then kind of compare that to daily races that I've had a go at today that are as dull as ditch water. Well, maybe not really bad, but certainly not phenomenal.
I didn't.
Very kind of they've been using every kind of combination that they've used before, and they've decided to have a week of exactly the same. Yeah, and I like to also give a big warm welcome to all of our listeners on Podbean. Because you get to listen to this a day or two later when we put it on to Podbean, and we're doing extremely well there. We've had a lot of people recently join us, and we're nearly done 10,000 listens on Podbean. We're just a few away from 10,000. So if you do like the podcast, then it's great to listen to us there. And thank you very much. And a very warm welcome. And we've got Helen who has joined us. We've got DTR Cars who is with us as well. And let's hear your comments and your thoughts as we go about our business tonight, talking about Formula One and GT7. Andrew, what would you like to start with tonight? Would you want Formula One or do you want GT7?
Oh, let's go for Formula One, shall we?
I think we should. Formula One.
We definitely should. Oh, there's so much.
It was good.
Should we start with the actual racing?
Yes, we'll get the stats out the way. Get the how it happened.
It's Budapest, Hungary, Hungaroring. So limited opportunities to overtake there,
but it's been better the last few years.
It has been better. I was listening to the race. I don't know if you know that channel.
Oh yes, I have the race. Yeah,
listening to the race, I sort of go to sleep to them, and they were talking about maybe the past 10 years. It's got a lot better. Okay. I mean, I've got images. It's funny. Max always manages to show his weaving techniques and stuff like that. Well, that's one of the places where Kimmy, called him a few words.
Well, he
what an idiot!
He was certainly saying a few words over the radio yesterday. That's for sure.
Angry Max is back. It's like it's not
under pressure.
Challenged under pressure. I mean, the race was saying that. It's because he feels that the team are not taking him seriously about the problems. Essentially they're getting cocky because they've done so well for so long, and that's human nature. It does happen. So very, very possibly. What did you think of the infamous send it maneuver with the locking of the wheels and the Lewis and the bashing?
What impressed me a lot more about yesterday's race was that Lewis was actually properly defending. I think he felt he had a car that was slightly better than it had been, and so he kind of was able to be, to actually, he defended properly. Even the lap before it all happened, he was, he wasn't just giving it away. Where before the Red Bull just tended to sail past him, he was really going for it. DTR is saying, to be honest, that Red Bull is the second best car. It has been. It looks like the McLarens finally are getting.
They brought an update for this race because there's been a particular problem. It seems that they've still got a very good car in certain circumstances. I mean, it's still a very good car regardless. But they have a superior car in fast corners where the aerodynamic downforce is required. Very good at that. What they're lacking is the medium to slow speed corners, which is where the McLaren excels. And the Ferrari, what they've been having the problem is they've gone back to the problem of porpoising, where they're having to run it so low to get the high aerodynamic downforce. It's then doing that, bouncing down the straights where it sucks it on the ground and then releases and sucks it on the ground, and that's what's happening when they bounce down the straight. So they've been trying to sort that out so they can get the balance of the two. The Red Bull's still got loads of downforce for fast corners, but somewhere like the Hungaroring, that's not useful. Barcelona, it's useful. The next race, Spa, I believe, is the next race. It's going to be important there. You know, going around Eau Rouge and up Radion and round the corner at the top.
Yeah.
It's all a high downforce, high speed kind of corner. You'll see, I think next week you'll see Max a little bit further up. But it's been struggling. So apparently this weekend he had, because of what, it made it a bit better, a little bit more predictable. But he had no front end grip. He likes the front end to be super sharp. He's like Schumacher used to be. He likes, and Hamilton as well. They like the back end a bit loose and they control the back end. But if you're having to sort out that balance, the aero balance, and you can't turn in, it means you can't turn in because you haven't got that grip on the front. And then, so you're not got enough grip to turn in sharply and control the car with the throttle and the steering on the way out. You end up with much less grip in the slow speed corners. Yeah, kind of like it's what he was complaining of. He was complaining that he couldn't turn in sharply enough and had not enough grip on the medium to slow speed corners, which is where the McLaren was excelling. And of course, you've got two now extremely good drivers in the McLaren, whereas he's got poor old Perez, who's doing a great job of finding the barriers.
Yeah. Oh goodness, it couldn't have gone any worse for him. Poor thing. He really did. I mean, he's just signed that contract, and literally from the moment he signed it, he's barely finished, or he's maybe 6th or 7th. It was poor thing. I mean, he must be wondering. They're going to have to surely get rid of him.
Oh, they're going to get rid of him.
I think there was a thing about it on the weekend.
Halfway break, they're going to get rid of him. Probably bring someone like Ricciardo in, because Ricciardo's been doing better. He's still not at the level he used to be, but at least he's
going
to
give
Max
Max
already.
something.
He knows how the team works.
Yeah.
I think he'll come in and he'll be able to at least be able to support Max and support the team to get the Drivers' Championship. Because what's happening, I mean, I think Max is going to be pretty safe getting the not the Drivers' Championship, sorry, the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah,
I think Max is pretty safe in getting the Drivers' Championship, even if he gets challenged a bit. Especially now, Piastri's now starting to win races because I'm interested to think. What do you think there? Because there was the whole palaver at the end.
I was a little bit annoyed. I thought, surely for the championship, they want to have Lando up there. Yes, I know he was ahead. Piastri was ahead earlier. But, Lando's much closer to Max in the championship. And you kind of think those 7 or 8 points could be crucial, because all it takes is for it now, if they go after the break, or, if they win in Belgium and they start to get some really good points and Max starts losing maybe 10 points a race, there is not going to be much in it. There's another 12 races or 11 races to go. It's really, you kind of think, right, they need to keep it there.
We're sort of halfway. But I agree. I agree completely.
Yeah, DTR saying Lando can still catch Max. I think so. If he can get a run of victories, and have Piastri backing him up,
then
it's going to be exciting.
He lost. It's like Lando. Was it a couple of races ago? Lando should have won.
Yeah,
but the team.
What was really those medium tires, wasn't it, Britain?
You and I, we remember McLaren at its peak,
and they would never make a mistake like that,
where they were challenging for titles all the time, and even then. It was always Williams and McLaren always were a bit of a joke on strategy compared with Ross Brawn. Whether Ross Brawn was in Benetton or whether Ross Brawn was in Ferrari, Schumacher often won on strategy.
Yes, that's Kiwi. Kiwi has just joined us and called Myths and Legends. I'll put those words on my gravestone.
I don't exist. I am a mirage. I'm a hologram. Look, I've got a H here. Yeah, so I had a bit of a smile when I was listening to people sort of saying that the team's not used to winning. They're not used to acting aggressively as if they can win. And so they're always too cautious, and that's what ruined that other race. And it's, in a way, it's what ruined what happened. The reason why they brought Norris in and gave him the undercut was to cover off a Hamilton that wasn't actually that close.
No, I think he's not there yet. They're getting cautious. Yeah, yeah.
But
it's great to see, though, Mercedes is there. They're all kind of, and I mean, you know, it was okay. Maybe yesterday was a little bit lucky for Hamilton. He kind of got off with it, and he managed to kind of defend himself from Verstappen. But the fact is, he got another podium, and the car is getting better. And I think they've got a few more upgrades coming as well over the next few weeks and things. So it would be, it's beginning to close up.
That car in. I mean, we're gonna get. When we become super famous, we get, oh, you're English, even though you're not. You're English. You're always going to support Lando and Lewis, and it's like, oh, this is
we
why
want a
both
battle,
of us
though.
came
We
off
just want a battle.
This is why when we first met on the Facebook chat groups, you know, the F1 groups, that's why I left them all, because they're stupid. This is where the phrase fanboy and hater came from, and it's like, oh, I haven't got the time for idiots that think in that fashion.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's a lot more of those supporters now. Football supporters, I call them. You know.
Yeah.
Max sent it. I mean, honestly, there was no. That was such a dive.
Yeah.
Hopeful dive, shall we say?
Mm-hmm.
A bit like the first corner, where he knew that he couldn't get round the corner around there, and so he went wide and floored it.
And he said he couldn't figure out. He said Lewis kept turning. Well, he was turning because that was the corner. The corner was there, and he had to turn in.
But to be fair, Lewis did come in a bit early. It was a shallow line, and even he said in the interviews afterwards, "Well, I defended a little bit."
Yeah,
a little bit, and that's why the stewards said that he had a part to play in it, because he did creep across a bit. So, you know, that we're all so used to them saying things for the camera, and you know, it's always their truth a little bit. But Max's truth, Max is always coming from the point of view, Schumacher's point of view, and Senna's point of view is that I'm coming for this corner, and it's up to you whether we crash. Yeah, and that's the problem. That when I look at Lewis has always been a robust defender. But he stepped up his defence when he came across Max, because Max was, I am going to smack you. Get out of my way. I'm coming past. And Lewis had to teach him a few times. Rosberg was the same. Rosberg used to do the same thing. So
it was very close. Yeah, it was very, very close with them.
It's a psychological thing. Yeah. That's why Lewis used to do it. He used to bat into him to go, okay, I'm going to be as crazy as you. If that's how you want to be, I'll be that crazy, and we'll both lose.
Yeah,
and then they learned, and he was a bit more careful about it. That's.
Yeah. Now Kiwi has brought up an interesting point. There was no reason for it. 1-2 or a 2-1. What does it matter for Lando? This might be the reason he doesn't win the championship. And I sort of think, how many times has it been less than 10 points that a title goes down to? And if you're coming into Abu Dhabi or the last race, which I think is Abu Dhabi, it normally is, and all of a sudden you've got, there's already 6 points in it. It could be that kind of thing that just he loses by a point or something like that. It's
Hamilton and Vettel, Alonso and Vettel. They all came down to the last race.
Yeah.
Look at Hamilton. Hamilton versus I've forgotten his name. Brazilian guy.
Ferrari. For goodness, I should know.
Got hit in the head by a
bolt. Not Rubens Barrichello. It's the other one.
No, not Barrichello.
I know. Massa. Felipe Massa. Yes.
Felipe Massa. That was the last 3 corners.
Yeah.
Literally came down to the last 3 corners. So 7 points. So that's a big difference. It's a big difference in a close season like this when you're chasing someone. There is another thing. So that first corner, again, I've only seen the highlights, but that first corner, Max doing his Max, Norris got swamped. And he got swamped. He took a defensive line, and somebody was saying that he was trying to push his teammate into the wall, but he was incredibly kind. As other people have said, he was very kind there. He could have been a lot more robust. He could have, if he was like Max, he would have smashed him into the wall. He would have, or Schumacher or any of the others. So he ended up swamped. That was the only reason. That was the only reason he was behind.
Yeah. Did you see the interesting bit that DTR has brought up as well? That Crofty got quite annoyed at the fact that Max Verstappen had been involved in a sim race on the Saturday night. and also on the Sunday morning. And similarly, he'd done quite. I don't know if he'd won it or not, or if he'd done quite well. But he was, I think, maybe a bit too tired, and maybe wasn't performing quite as well as he would normally be. And I actually thought that when I watched the race yesterday on the highlights, I thought, you know what, it's true. Verstappen doesn't seem like he's actually on 100% form. Because he was complaining more, and he was kind of a bit as if things weren't going his way. And I think he wasn't quite in the mental state to take them on. Probably now, if you've been driving all night or a good bit before it, he is probably a bit tired, or maybe just not in the, give you the good night's sleep.
People have also said that it's frustration with the team because you can hear it on the radio, the anger.
Yeah.
And some people think that his race engineer was calling him childish.
Yeah.
I've had a little bit of, what's the word? There's a phrase for it. I can't name it. When they're sort of like explaining it in some convoluted fashion, that it doesn't actually mean that he was just saying it's a general thing. That kind of behaviour is childish. Not saying that Max that continually shouts at his race engineer and swears at him and abuses him is being childish. But it's like you can hear all of this crap, and they're all saying to him, "Is that what came into it? Is that what came into it?" I think they're being way too kind to Max. I think Max is someone that's not had people say no to him. Yeah. I mean, he's a little fella, and he goes around acting like he can beat everybody in.
Yeah,
it's like Mike Tyson said. The trouble with the social media is people have got used to the idea they can do what they like without getting a punch in the face.
Yeah.
And in Max's case, he's been brought up to believe he's the absolute best and can do what he likes. He's got his dad acting like the worst kind of pushy parent on the side of a field. You see these videos of wrestling matches where the mum and the dad come in trying to beat the judge up, and it's like, and you wonder why these people are impossible growing up.
Yeah,
well, that's what he is. It's like Beyonce thinking she's talented and going around because she's got millions and doing what she likes. Same.
Yeah.
And that's my problem with Max. The thing is Max really is very, very good. He's really good. He doesn't need any of this crap. Yeah. He doesn't need to do dives down the inside of people, which are marginal at best. They would work if the person wanted to keep out the way because they've got 5 points and they need those 5 points desperately. But when it's Lewis Hamilton, he's just going to go bang. Yeah. Because he doesn't care anymore.
Now, DTR said Max knows he's in trouble. And I think as well, it's the pressure, because you can have an easy run, and he has had a pretty good run at the titles in the last couple of years. And now all of a sudden, I mean, even at the beginning of this year, it looked ominous that he would just drive away with it all. But now it's amazing, to credit to the teams in competition that have actually brought the pace up.
Both teams, actually. Both teams.
Yeah, and he's not now.
Mercedes, they've done an incredible job of turning their car around.
Yeah. And it's certainly, I mean, he's carrying Red Bull, which is certainly something. But he's not getting pole positions, so he's not just driving away from the front of the field. He's maybe third or fourth on the grid or fifth on the, it's quite interesting. So that's what makes it. He's under pressure, but it's good, and that's what he needs. That's what makes it a good sport to watch. When there's a bit of
something I love about Norris, because he's now he's been under pressure. We'll see how it goes with him, but he's someone that acts in a more, I'm going to say, decent fashion in general, a slightly more humble fashion. I'm pretty sure that he's able to push his way past someone if need be, but he tries to use skill rather than bullying the way, forcing the way past someone. It's like I say, this is the kind of stuff that didn't happen 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Because if it did, you both died. There's no consequence for them now. The cars are so strong. I mean, sure, every now and again someone gets hurt, but it's usually very unusual. The cars are so safe. There's no consequences for them other than you get slap on the wrist, which is why the racing is now it's dictated from the rule book instead of from racing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That's it.
The only consequence, and so
it's there's a lot into it. Yeah. It's quite. I'm glad it's close, and we're getting a championship. It suddenly looks like we might actually have a proper championship on our hands, which is really good. And I think the next few races will hopefully, even get closer, and hopefully Lando could get some victories and just bring it to a point where, my goodness, it could be a thrilling end to the year, because we've had 2 quite dull years, really. So it'd be quite nice to have something that's a bit better. That
Russell, what happened with Russell? Because if Hamilton can end up on the podium, Russell should have been right up there. But
he had a terrible qualifying
highlights.
Yeah,
he got knocked out. Is it the first?
In the first he couldn't get fast enough. The track was drying out.
It's a drying track, wasn't it? So it was the old potluck thing where you have to be the last person over the line, don't you? With the right amount of fuel and your tyres not too worn. That's how it worked in that, wasn't it? So did he end up having bad luck with the combination of fuel, tyres, and rain? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, it's quite interesting, because Kiwi is talking about race A, which we'll come on to in a minute.
So I was going to say, I nearly typed in and said we'll get to that after the F1 stuff.
Yes, but it's well, when Kiwi comes, because Kiwi always does these incredibly fast laps, a bit like Woody Boy as well. And in fact, he's just not far off Tidney. Kiwi's time's not far away from Tidney's time. So we're always keen to hear how Kiwi manages to do it. I'm only 4/10 off you on the time trial. I finally managed to get down on the time trial, which was at Sardinia in the LFA. But I'll talk about that in a wee bit. I think there's a bit more time in it, but I've struggled. It's jumping the gun.
Yes, you are. So let's see.
That's it.
Oh,
by the way,
so Ian's saying they need to make the car less big. Apparently, the next regulations are meant to be doing that. Meant to be making them lighter again, which is going to be hard, because they've got all the usual. They've got the same kind of crap in the Formula 1 cars now as they got in normal cars.
Yeah, like an electric vehicle.
Everything's got batteries, and I used to think it was just like the other rubbish that they got on there. When they got a super Leggera version of a car, and it's 1,700 kilos, and you're like, huh? Peugeot 205 was like 980.
Oh, it's incredible. The likeness of the 205 was amazing. I will come. I've got a little car story at the end.
They were all like that those days, because they didn't have any extraneous stuff like. And they don't tell me they didn't have crash protection. They had crumple zones. They might not have had Saab,
and that was the person in the car. Was the crumple zone.
Even the Saab, the old Saab 9000s were significantly large.
Quite solid. Yeah.
Oh, incredibly. Well, the Saab 95, which, as we all know, was the illegitimate child of a Vauxhall Vectra and a Saab 9000. Even that it initially got a 4-star rating with the Euro NCAP. The only reason it didn't get the 5-star, it didn't have all the electronic nannying that they think you need. Because no one seems to be able to drive anymore, because once again no one's trained to drive properly anymore. Then they updated it with the electronic rubbish, and it got 5 stars.
Yeah,
incredibly safe car. So the Saab. I actually bought my third Saab 9000 from a guy that worked for the Transport Research Laboratory down near Windsor Way. I actually bought it from him in the car park of the Transport Research Laboratory, and he was saying that if I hadn't bought it, 250 quid. If I hadn't bought it, he was going to use it to crash it into something, because they tend to look for Saabs to do that, because they're solid.
Because it's so solid. Yeah.
Good to crash into things.
Well, on that note, we will go from F1. I've got a good car story, though, for you all a bit later on, because I got one of my comments taken away from a major car channel, and it was quite funny. I must have annoyed them because they took one of my comments down. And I will come to that. I will come to that later on.
What did you say?
Or do you want? Will I just do it now? Well,
you've said it now.
I'll just do it now.
This thing where it's coming up. It's coming up in 10 minutes. Not a person that goes, oh, is it?
And then we're straight away. Well, I was watching the Johnny Smith show, which I quite like on YouTube, because he does a lot of barn finds, that kind of thing. And he used to be on Fifth Gear. He used to be on Fifth Gear, and he's about 50 actually. He's about very similar age to me.
Oh, is he got a beard and always wears?
He's very tall, and he does a lot. He goes around the country doing barn finds, and he also drives a lot of electric cars and different things. And the show is all right. But he did this thing. Now he must get paid by a lot of manufacturers to obviously do a review of their car. And there was this car. It was the old Mini Moke. You know, like the old, what was the kind of, it was like the Citroen version. It was this kind of Citroen based on a 2CV, but it's a kind of like, it was like a kind of safari car, and it had the kind of canvas roof. And it used to be made in the 60s and the 70s, and it's based in the south of France. It was absolutely a death trap.
2CV
because it had no safety at all.
Superb off road anyway. So
yeah, it was based for the kind of south of France, that kind of thing. But and I do like, as I say, GTR likes his channel too. He does a lot of really good stuff. But he does, when it comes to electric cars, he does a lot of that. So, and some of his reviews are okay, like the new Renault 5 and things like that. That was quite reasonable. But this was this kind of, they called it, it's an Eden car, it's Eden, this company that has decided to put this back into production. And it's an electric car. So it no longer is it light and able to tinker around or you know, so it would be easy to drive. I mean, it had horrendous body roll. You could see him driving it inside of France, and it was almost on two wheels, which obviously was a 2CV type of thing. So they kind of tried to retain the very basic interior. But there was one thing that car used to be, and it was cheap. You know, if you buy something like that, because it's basically a golf cart, you know, it would have been next to nothing to buy at the time. I'm not sure the exact price. It was probably £3,000 or £4,000, if that. Now, you know, it would have been. Have a guess, because it's electric, and they were saying how great it was, how lovely it was, what a renaissance.
Environmentally,
French,
even though it's 63% more CO2 to build, and you have to dig things up with children in Africa.
Have a guess how much you think it might be. Have a guess.
£75,000.
Not quite. No, to be fair, it's not quite that bad. £37,000. Now, it's third. I mean, and the thing is, if you, I wish I'd had a picture of it. Actually, I should have got a picture and tried to show it to our viewers here.
Well, hold on.
What's it called? It's called I think it's like the Eden Mini. If you go into the his website, his webpage, or if somebody goes onto it, I think it was Eden Cars or something like that. They make it. They make electric cars. But if you do Johnny Smith electric cars, it will come up with this thing. It's the most. It's the most ugly. I mean, as a new car could look, they couldn't have made anything as worse looking than that. I mean, it's. I jokingly said it was like a modern day communist car, because it was that ugly and that awful. Neil's in. Good to see you, Neil. We are just having a quick meander into the world of electric cars as we go from Formula 1 to GT7. But it's good to see you. I hope you're well and having a good week. But yes, and every option, like the canvas roof, was about £4,000. And it literally is like something you'd buy at a home base. I mean, it wasn't even anything that looked particularly solid. I mean, it was dreadful. Everything looked as cheap and as nasty and as horrible as you could imagine. And they were saying how great it was. It was £37,000. So I said, I'd rather have a Renault Twizy.
Oh, him.
That.
Oh, God, I hate him. I just find him really annoying.
So I thought it was like one of the worst cars I've ever seen. I'm a Tesla driver. I love electric cars, so hate no sound. Yeah, that thing. But at least the Tesla is a good car. To be fair, the Tesla, you sit literally on the ground. Yeah, that's it. Mahari thing.
Let me just. I've got this. I'm going to put it full screen. I've froze it, and so let me try and share this. Present.
Yep. If I share that,
I'm not going to bother with any sound.
Yeah. And for our listeners here on Podbean, it's going to be the Eden Mahari. So if you want to look it up on Google, we can. I don't know if I can put it. I might be able to put a link to it in the comments here. Who is rigorously trying to? Oh, here we are. Add to the stage. Yes, there we are. There you go.
Yeah, I remember him.
It looks terrible.
In. Look at him, he's struck.
I'm sorry, but that is the worst looking car I have ever seen in a long time.
Oh,
and
like
that's
the door.
A new car. That's a new car.
That piece of string.
You might think if it was
maybe
£37,000. Yes. If it was £8,000, fair enough. It's a little kind of runabout. And if it had a wee petrol engine, brilliant. That would be fantastic.
Wow.
But at £37,000, yeah, exactly. DTR, I totally agree.
And it does look like something that came from the 70s, which would have cost £100.
Nothing. You know, exactly. I mean,
in the 70s.
It would have been cheap and cheerful. That's why it was popular. And I kind of said to them, like, if you're going to make a new car out of an old name or whatever, to try and kind of ignite it all, kind of rebrand, rebirth it all, at least bring a car, at least make it better than the previous one. At least make it better than the original. When you think that's what Alfa Romeo or that group is, Alfa Fieste or everyone that do the old Alfa Giulia, You know, the classic Giulia, but they've upgraded it all. There's the Alpha Fanatics or something.
It's a father and
Alpha,
son.
yeah, and they do a phenomenal job on those cars.
Bit, but what a car!
But that's kind of what you want.
Car.
No, Kiwi's been put off his ice cream with that photograph.
Is it
yes, Alphaholics, that's what it is. I mean,
yes.
that's the way of how to do it. Or the company as well that makes the original the new Ford Escort Mark I Mexico. You can get one of those for about £75,000. I think that's they reback. That is surely a resto mod.
Have you heard those? I mean, I followed a guy called Frank Kelly. I think it's Frank Kelly. He's a rally driver, a Northern Irish rally driver. His daughter's his co-driver, but they used to have a couple of others that are really funny. It's just so funny listening to them. Him read the pace notes and all this kind of stuff. But he's got a Mark II Escort rally car, and he's got this 2.5 litre souped up. It's got something like 350 horsepower, and it sounds.
The
old cross-flow engine on those things, Harry Vartan and going out, the sound on it was just superb. And they have these cars now with valves in them and all this going on. You want to make it louder, and they just sound loud. They don't sound good. They're just loud. It's like hearing a really loud Hoover.
Even like modern boy racer cars, we've got a few here in Alnwick, and they have Vauxhall Astra VXRs.
The GTE.
And they do all sorts of things. Yeah, but the VXR, which was a quick car, but they don't. I don't know what they do to the exhaust on them, but they don't sound that nice. They just kind of pop and bang, but they don't really kind of give you any kind of nice sound.
But you can buy a £300,000 or £100,000 Porsche, press a button, and it pops and bangs for you. Like, you do realise, you morons, that the reason why that used to pop and bang is because it was so rich to get the power. Unburnt fuel in the incredibly hot exhaust would ignite, and it would go pop, pop, pop when you lift it off. It didn't pop and bang because it was like techno music. It didn't need to be done.
No, that's it.
What's the point of it? And that's the difference. The Alfa Romeos, they're beautiful, but they're beautiful, and it's a mechanical beauty, isn't it?
Those 2-litre twin spark engines were fantastic.
They made the best engines.
Yeah, they even look nice when you open the bonnet.
V6, that 3-litre V6 was all through the 80s and 90s was considered the best V6 you could buy in the world. Superb engine, and it sounded incredible. No, I'd like to see that new Aston Martin. That's what DTR said. I know they had it at Goodwood, and so they had a lot of stuff on there. I've only seen a few videos of that, but I need to do a lot more. But the RB17, I think.
That's going to be something else, isn't it?
Let me just type that in.
But so that's what we like to see. A resto mod, it needs to be an Alpha. The Alphaholics, Giulia, or that Ford Escort Mark I. No, they are. But I think the Escort's the cheapest. I think the Escort is about 75,000. And €6 million. My goodness, that will be something. That now Kiwi said his first car was a Mark I Escort, and it was orange. That would have been. I bet that there would have been a huge kind of push to put some nice Mexico wheels on that, and a few other to make it kind of. Imagine it's a proper rally car, because their wheels are tiny, aren't they? They were like about this size. They were kind of like these tiny little wheels on them, but they were quite wide. Now we've got one. We've got one to share. Oh yes, I'm
sharing the whole thing. So this is the RB17, which looks like.
Yeah, it does look nice actually.
It's all right.
It looks like a WEC car, one of these World Endurance Championship cars, a bit, doesn't it? But with all that tech, at least that's one company that's actually making stuff that they almost put into GT7 in terms of, with those.
I'm sorry, but let's do a quick comparison here. I mean, is it really that nice?
Yeah, the XJ220, it was a lot. That was a classic. Then they bankrupted
I can't spell Jaguar suddenly. Typing. Let's try.
Kiwi saying it had nice chrome mags. Unfortunately, it went up in flames because I was stupid. Oh dear. Oh, that would have been.
Now that.
Yeah, the McLaren does look lovely. I do like that.
That's enough to get me divorced. That is.
Is that a midlife crisis car?
No, no. I ain't got the money for that car. This is midlife crisis. Okay, my dream garage, the first two in it, well, not the first two, but if I had suddenly inherited $1 billion and it would take that, would be a McLaren F1 and a McLaren P1.
Yeah,
and then it would be Gordon Murray Automotive T33. I don't want the T50 because it looks a bit funky. Yeah. I'd have a T33 because that. And then you've got. Oh God! Look at it. Look at the arse on that girl. She's
I've not seen that one. What's now DTR Cars is saying, have you seen the Mad Max P1 GTR? I've not seen that.
So do I type this in?
Yeah, just Mad Max P1 GTR.
Max P1 GTR.
It must be a car. I don't know if is that the new one or is that the.
Well, they've got the Interceptors from the original, but are we talking about Infuriosa or something?
I don't know.
Is it
Mike. Oh, the Mad Mike P1 GTR.
Oh, mad.
Oh, not to worry. We'll get mad.
There's
a wee slightly bureaucratic error there. That's it. Here we go. Oh. So that's the one. If you press on it, it might click out there, it'll come up and
come on. Oh, it's on the side.
Sometimes if you click on them again, it will come up. Here we are. It's just about to arrive. Here we go. There you are. Yeah. Oh, that's quite good. Look at the back wheels. They're the tires kind of off the alloy. That's quite a machine. So if you listen to us on Podbean, you're looking at the Mad Mike P1. It's a Red Bull car, which I think they've probably had at Goodwood, but it's power sliding.
Rotary engine. Mad Mike's rotary powered McLaren P1. I don't want a rotary powered. I like the Ricardo Engineering V8. Thank you very much, because it's just so good.
Yeah. Well, Ricardo now that we've done some cars, shall we go on to GT7? Now, Kiwi said he installed extra gauges and forgot to use a grommet on the firewall where I installed the cable. Caught fire as I was driving in the middle of New Zealand farmland. Only water I had were my tears. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! That would have been heartbreaking when you're standing at the side of the road, seeing the car dissolve in flames. That normally that happens to Alfa Romeo owners, not to Ford Escort owners. But it's we can all
fix this earlier.
Oh, it's the camera. Don't worry, we can sort it. So let's get to GT7. We have a race. Race week.
Didn't see my face, do they?
We have the race week of combinations past, because most of the races that we have this week have been done many times.
It depends which one you mean. Do you mean the one that was on Harry's Garage last night?
I think possibly. Saying you can have a look at that one later.
110th anniversary V12.
Yeah,
it looked interesting. I think the paint job needed a bit of work, but it looked. The front end looked a bit strange to me. It kept reminding me of something that I think I saw before, but I can't remember what it was. It might, but something.
Yeah, you don't have a front end that looks a little bit like a Porsche, like Le Mans car. It's like the 959 a little bit. On that Aston, the kind of the front of it was kind of. I thought I'd seen it before somewhere. The one I saw yesterday, or it was a Goodwood as well.
Two big lights, and they're a little bit low, and it looked sort of wide and flat. And I think it kind of reminded me of the the Lancia. Is it the 037, the old rally car?
Oh yeah, yes, a little bit like that. That's maybe the car. Yeah, maybe that's more like that car. Yeah,
that a weird, funky, because they've got this kind of like it's almost. The grill's there in the middle, and then further out, they've got this Aston Martin grill shape.
Yeah.
Done in carbon fibre, but not actually the grill.
Yeah.
And then, for some reason, with the paint job, the whole car was green or something, and then they made this red, and it really didn't work.
Yeah.
But it went around the lights. It looked it looked interesting and a bit funky. It's just the colouring was wrong, wrong. But the sound of the engine, that was right. That was very right. Very, very nice. V12. But even that had buttons to open exhaust valves, and this is like it needs it. It's a V12.
I know, that's a thing. Oh, just on a quick note, as we go to GT7, did you guys watching and in the comments and listening, did you like our Gran Turismo movie review? We had lots of fun making that one. That was great fun. And I liked the picture. I think we need to get the three of us on a picture like that, like we did for the thumbnail, standing, there on the picture. We need to get three kind of full
GT7
kind of
behind us.
Yes, that would be quite funny. Now, Kiwi drove up. A farmer drove up later in his tractor and said, there's a fire ban in force after his car was burning in flames. There, it was. And Helen said,
Helen watched that Harry's Garage with me.
Yeah,
so she's
the colouring was definitely wrong.
But other than that, it was a really nice looking car. I mean, it really was. It was a nice.
Well, we might get it on the games. I mean, they are trying to bring in more stuff, but the film is okay. But hopefully our write-up was at least a bit more of a laugh, and made it something a bit interesting. Yeah, but no, it was good fun. So let's get on to race A, and we have our key man here, German Kiwi, who has done a phenomenal time, a 103.6, just fractions away from Tidney. And he is saying the biggest issue with the race A, it's a Toyota Yaris GS, is once again the thing that Gran Turismo loves to do is weight transfer. And it takes a great car and makes it terrible. So when you try and break,
we were talking about this before, weren't we? About how much I love the way the back end likes to go. Whoop!
Yeah, because even on the LFA, now they were using the LFA at the American track. What was it? Watkins Glen, the one that they did. The long version a few weeks ago. It was a race C, and it was very popular because you had all these big, wonderful supercars. And the LFA was a great car for that race. It handled well. It was fun. Sorry,
Sardinia.
It's at Sardinia last week for the TT, and which they've made it really hard to drive and definitely a lot more of a handful. But when they used it for, I don't know if it was Watkins Glen. It's that one. We've got it on GT7. It was a race C a few weeks ago. It was a really good car to drive. It was quite easy, and it reacted. And even on the time trial, because I was doing a bit of that earlier today to try and get my time into the gold time, which I did by a fraction, a tiny fraction. It was sounding as if it was a manual gearbox, because there was a delay in changing gear, and obviously it was a semi-automatic box that they developed for it. And I've got paddles on my wheel here, and it sounded like there was a delay, and I thought, that's not right. So, of course, if you've got a delay when it's changing gear, especially when you're changing down, the weight transfer is going to be even slower, and a lot worse and a lot harder to kind of handle. But so I'm still I did get a gold time in it just, but I'm only fractions. I'm about 4 tenths away from Kiwi. So I thought, right, I've got him in my sights. I'm going to get there.
Was it the original? I mean, was it? Do you remember when I first started watching you doing GTS?
And
I remember, you going around Tokyo and all this kind of stuff, and I'd watch you.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about sim racing, but you dragged me along anyway. And it was like, even though you were using the paddle, it was like that.
Yeah.
So when I got on it, and you could change all these different things, I discovered the fully racing gearbox, and then that was. And I wonder, with the gear change on this, is it the Yaris?
Oh, the Yaris is kind of. I haven't noticed. I haven't driven that yet, so I don't know what it's like.
Do they do that to make it a road car, and then you got to do some things to it to make it a race car? Like a fast gearbox.
Yeah,
it's like on GT7 you can buy the racing clutch, and it gives you faster, punchier gear changes and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're not allowed,
or is it just?
We're not allowed to alter it, so they've made it a standard car that we have to drive in the way it is. So, in fact, I don't even think there's brake balance or anything that you can change.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Are they so lazy that they can't It's like the
Well, it
trope
just seems like the
when they want
car's
a strong,
different.
independent woman they're too stupid to be able to work out how to write that character, so they just make everybody else thick, really thick and nasty. So are they doing it? Are they dumbing down the standard car so much to make it less of a race car because it's not a race car? Is that what's going on? It's like,
well,
you've got
I
steering
thought
feel.
either they're
Are they making it
making
so numb on the steering you can't feel anything? But then when you get into a racing car, it's like, well, you remember I was moaning about it the other week, and then I got into a car with like racing soft tires, and it was like, oh well, this is quite nice. I like this. But when you got on anything other than the racing tires,
I've got
it was.
an idea about that now. Perhaps because we've got a lot of quick people in our comments here that can maybe back this one up. That it's I think either they made because the time trials in the last few weeks, to keep us on our toes. The time trials have gotten harder, and either they're making them tougher to get a good time, which annoys me because I'm thinking, right, I should be good at this game. I should be able to get. I would hope to try and get into gold. But with the amount I play it, I would hope to be there. But because I've struggled, I was doing the Super Formula at Fuji, and I'm a tenth off the pace, and I can't get that extra tenth to get me into gold. So I'm still on silver. And I think I should be able to do that because it's just the timing of those last few corners to get good exits. But I think it's either they've made the combinations tougher, so it is harder, genuinely harder to get a gold, and that's what's separating the really good drivers who obviously know how to handle these cars, or it's or I'm there's something different. It's it just seems to be now Kiwi saying same here, Hugh. So it's I think it is more competitive, but is it genuinely more realistic? Because sometimes I certainly find on my Logitech 923, it's very hard to get a consistent lap. Or you might do the first lap when you start the server, when you start your time trial. But once you've done your first lap, unless it's a really good clean lap, by the time you get to the second lap, it's as if everything disappears. The brakes go. Everything's not quite the same. Now I know in real life, every lap you do is going to be a little bit different, but you still want some kind of consistency, especially in a road car. There should be a reasonable amount of consistency. But I would be. Now, of course, this is the big question. There's a physical change coming up on Thursday, and whether that's just for rally cars or whether it goes through a bit more of the game, I don't know. But it has annoyed me because I feel I'm getting worse and not better. And I can't blame my rig. I'd be the first person to blame my equipment. Although I'm not happy with my wheel and pedals, but everything else I can't really blame.
You are a practiced F1 excuses guy. You are very good at that.
I'm afraid, just not getting it right. Just not really able to. I mean, I'm not driving the game as much as I was before, and I'd like to get into that again. But I'm doing more driving work during the week, so it's harder to fit it in. But yeah, what are your views in the comments there? Because Okiwi, you are able to get very, very good times. You're able to master the weight transfer. I find it's the balance when you're coming off the brake pedal. Either the car completely flips or it just understeers. I don't know. It's how you balance that to try, because there's definitely times you can do it, or times I've been able to come off the brakes properly and the car goes round the bend. But most of the time, it doesn't.
I've always found that. I mean, people like you and the likes of Kiwi and the other people, and Ian and the other people I hate, have always been able to deal with these little problems that have been there, as far as I'm concerned, already. Yeah. And it's taken me some interesting habits I've had to develop to stop the car spinning on me when I come off the brakes and when I put the power down. I've said this before, I leave a little bit of a gap between coming off the brakes, allowing it to run a little bit, and then I turn, and it sort of allows the car to settle and have less back end coming up and all this kind of thing. And before I put the power down, I'm very careful in how I put the power down. And it makes me slower, I'm sure it does, because I haven't managed to get that combination of little things I do quick enough for it to gain the time on it. I have to do it on every corner, and so on every corner I'm losing that little bit of time. But as you say, it's frustrating for me as well that it seems to be harder now, because I was getting there. I was like getting up to like 6%, the top 6%, wasn't I? You've seen that, and now I'm back at the 15%, and it's like, well, at least I was making 200k, so I could actually start buying a few things and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, it's
Kiwi said overlaying helps, and that's a term. Now I have heard of that term, but I'm trying to think exactly what that means. So the opposite of trail braking. And trail braking is when you've got the brakes on as you kind of come out of a corner, isn't it?
You're trying to release them. I've seen Digit does a really good description of this, and you brake, but you don't sort of slam it on. You sort of put a little bit of brake, and then you add a bit more, but then you lift it off a bit, and you leave a little bit of braking as you're going round. But you've got to be able to. You've got to get the right amount of braking. You can't just like leave the braking on. You've got to reduce it, because if you don't, you'll just understeer.
Yeah.
So is that? So I presume it's like a trail braking, but then you put a little bit of throttle. Is that what you're talking about, Kiwi?
Yeah. So it must be a matter of certain bits of throttle when you turn a corner.
Because I've always known that if you want like neutral handling going through a corner, you add a little bit of throttle, because it just steadies the car.
Yeah.
I mean that in real life. I'm talking in real life, This idea that I've been told for 40 years and heard for 40 years that you're either full on the brakes or full on the power is not true. It's just that's fine if you sort of ham-fisted and you stuck at the beginning. But then you get these little subtle ways of keeping the balance and getting the most grip and the fastest corner speed and the fastest exit speed.
Yeah. Well, DTR was saying that he reckons this new physics is supposed to be like the original when GT7 first came out, which is the one that you liked. In terms of the fact that it was a bit more, like handling like you would kind of expect in a real car. That you couldn't just simply slam on the accelerator and hit the brakes at wherever you wanted and wait and see what happens.
And you can't just ban engine braking, because like in the real world, engine braking is a real thing. What's wrong is going from fifth at 200 mile an hour down into second, and the engine not going out the bonnet. That's wrong. You do it if you do that kind of that thing in a real car, your gearbox goes, and your engine goes.
Yeah, but that's what he's saying, because people are doing.
You just got to be able to do it within physics,
Yeah, well, I think there is that thing about breaking down and coming down the gears in a manual box, or even in that it works. But as he says, people are using that in the game because they know they can get away with it, and they're doing like 2 gears down and then 1 up to try and get out, and that's what's obviously helping them. I also think the track limits is another thing about GT7 that annoys me. I mean,
effectively a braking on the back wheels.
Yeah, on that TT from last week. In the LFA, the last corner, you're basically got 2 wheels on the grass as you're coming through the right-hander to try and keep as much speed as you can to exit it. And that, and you wouldn't be allowed to do that. They'd ban you straight away, And so I do have an issue with some of the way that, when that horrendous red sign comes up on your screen, when you've invalidated your lap. And sometimes it's quite difficult to know when it's going to be invalidated and when it won't be, because certain corners give you so much more time, more track off the track.
It's like Formula One. You don't know track limits.
Yeah, there needs to be maybe a line.
It's okay, but not this one.
Yeah.
The track's a track. It's like Max doing that first corner. Back in the day, I mean, I hate gravel. I just hate it. But I used to like grass.
Yeah.
So just imagine, instead of it being nice tarmac and concrete, that was all grass. He wouldn't have been able to do it. It'd be 10th.
Yeah, or crash.
The consequence is simple. Then, if you come off the nice grippy tarmac and you end up on the green slippy stuff.
Yeah. No, that's it.
You end up at the back.
The problem is the grass doesn't slow the cars down, isn't it? That's why they got rid of it, because grass wouldn't slow the cars down before hitting walls. So the gravel was a bit better.
And then they changed that, and a lot of these circuits they've got the tarmac for MotoGP.
Yeah,
because the gravel was badly injuring the bike riders when they came off.
Yeah. So we're going to get a new track this week as well. I think they're going to get this mountainous track, aren't they? The Ear or something, Ear Einsland or something. They're going to get that, plus some new cars, and then this new physics. I think it's in Switzerland or somewhere. Is it Switzerland or Germany? It's some track that they used to have in like the earlier Gran Turismo games, but it was quite good. They've got some quite sharp corners and some very steep drops. It could be two new circuits. That would be something. That because we could do with a bit more. I think I'd quite like to see Donington and some of the British circuits. I think that would be quite good. It was a GT5 and 6. Yeah. And in fact, to be fair, the race that they were all panning, which was race B last week, the one that went through the old Grand Valley, which there were a lot of wall riding. But I did actually do a few laps there, and I quite enjoyed it. It was quite fun. So it's we'll have to see. But race A.
It's a rally track. It's an off-road track.
All right, they're going to do a rally version as well. That
explains why it's in Sweden. I was trying to think racetracks in Sweden.
No, I thought it was Switzerland or somewhere.
That makes perfect sense.
Switzerland,
like 1,000 lakes, something like that.
Yeah. But no, it's
Switzerland. You say?
I thought it was Switzerland because it's up in the hills.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said Sweden. I apologise.
And but yeah, no, that would be something to see how it goes. But so race A is of course at Tsukuba in a Toyota. Must be the sponsorship for Japan. It's always in there. It's been used so many times. I haven't yet tried that combination, but I will do it because actually sometimes you can get quite a fun race. Although there'll be lots of ramming. It's a bit like a go-kart track, and everyone's trying to get through at all costs. But then we've got race B, which is at Spa again in the Group 3, but this time you can only do brake balance. You can only change the brake balance. It's the 11th time now that's been done, which is it's okay, but the problem they have from watching Disney's video this morning is that the grid is too far spread out. Although they have given us an extra lap. I think you got 5 laps this time for race B. So that's actually quite a long race. It's well over 10 minutes, probably about 12 minutes by the time it's all done. So that's at least quite reasonable. And it's Group 3, so you got 911s, Lamborghinis, all that lot are there.
Right. But on my other 2 accounts, my elephant times. What voice?
Oh.
I can't remember what I'm just going to have to disappear for a second. I will be back. I can't remember I was having fun last time with the.
Don't worry. I will hold the fort.
Okay, but I was literally something I've just got to take.
No problem.
Dinner afterwards. I've got to defrost.
No problem. 2 seconds. No problem.
I'll be
right back in a few seconds. That. Yeah, that's all right. That's all right, Kiwi. I forgive you. So you've done a 147.091. See, I reckon I got maybe 4/10 in it, possibly 5, and that would maybe bring me down to a 47.3. Because I'm just about, I think I'm a 47.8, I think thereabouts, just within the goal time. But yeah, we'll see how we go now. And that's a very, very good time on that one. That must be in the top, simply in the top 50, if not even in the top 25. That would be something. But so the race B, which I've only again seen, I haven't tried, is at Spa. So it's a great track. And it's on 1-1 in terms of fuel and tyres. It seems to be quite popular. I know. I think Rory was doing it earlier. The worst corner is the third last. No, absolutely. It's crazy. Everyone's dive bombs. If that's for race A, but race B is slightly better. Spa we all kind of know, but it's still kind of the same. It'd be nice to get something a bit different. And then we've got race C, which is at. I always get these muddled up. It's not is it Watkins Glen?
No,
it's not Watkins Glen, is it?
I'm looking at it now. I've got it on the telly. Well, you see,
it is.
It is at Michelin Raceway, Atlanta Road.
Atlanta, yeah, Road Atlanta. That's the one. And it's been again used so many times. Time trials. It was in the Michelin in that.
Well, since it came back, they've sort of used it to death, haven't they?
Yeah. So that is in the Group 4, and that seems to be a very popular one. I think that's it's number 1 for tyres, for fuel, and 3 for tyres.
Like it, but kind of hate it.
It's got some very tricky. I find that first section really tricky because there's all these blind apexes. The first corner you can kind of manage,
come over the
and
hill,
then you
and
come
you
over the hill, and
suddenly
it's
face with that
horrible trying to
right-hander,
know
or you
where
end
do you
up
turn
on
right.
the grass. Oh, yeah.
And depending what car you're in, it depends how much kind of downforce you've got. So it's quite hard. Some
Yeah,
cars
what
will
brakes
just,
are doing there. That's
yeah,
bad. Yeah.
you know, you can just kind of swoop it in. But yeah, so the
Remember
turning
there was a
points are
time
really tricky.
trial with the 918, Porsche 918.
Yeah, I like that
And
car.
it was
That
so
was,
fast. The car was so powerful and so fast, and it had loads of traction because it's four-wheel drive and all that kind of stuff. And then, so you're thinking, in my head, it's kind of like, well, it's a bit like a race car, isn't it?
yeah,
you know, you're driving along, but it didn't have the downforce of your
yeah,
GT4s, 3s, 2s, and all this kind of stuff. And then you hit the brakes, and it's like so heavy.
yeah,
Coming into
yeah.
that chicane before you go over and under the bridge back down towards the start-finish straight. I'm braking where I would in something that goes that fast, but is a race car, and I'm just straight on. So what the?
Yeah, it's quite difficult. You had to almost before there was a kind of line as you come down the hill, and that's where you normally would just brake
You get
about
really
at that
fast,
line.
and you can just about get it around there, but then you've got to lift off and start braking way earlier than you would with anything else. It's just so heavy.
Yeah. Oh, that's a DTR car is saying the Porsche is an LMP1 car. Yeah, it was nice. I did quite like that. And DTR cars, it's the first time it's been in Gran Turismo for Road Atlanta. And then Kiwi says, top 50. Nice of you, Hugh. My 147.047 gives me proudly the placement of 1,655th. That's still a long, long way ahead of me. 7 tenths, at least, about 8 tenths ahead
Just
of
to
me.
put that into context, and you got this idiot and Brain here and Arkies all going, getting the gold time, and it.
Yeah,
I do the same as them, and I'm in the top 5,672. It's like, okay. I left a comment on Arkies. Left a load of comments.
We'll have to drink a Red Bull before we do it the next time. I think before we do these time trials, so that we can be on a different level when it comes to the mental and kind of muscle memory way of being able to kind of get these races
done. I will not
done.
live long enough to have my mental anything on a level where I can compete with you or just about anybody else.
I'm sure with enough Red Bulls we can accomplish anything. That
Yeah, it's called dying of a heart attack. I have never had one of those horrible things, and I never will.
I once had 2 with my brother, and it was years and years ago, about 20 years ago, and we actually won a go-kart event after we did it. So it's that was down in London at Daytona. We actually won the race.
As a former scientist of many years' experience, I don't think that a sample of 1 is what you call normal. You know, it's not. You need like what normal distribution. You can't measure normal distribution from a sample of 1. You need at least 10
to be able to do it
statistically.
Properly.
You need at least 10. So you need to 10 times do go-karting events,
and then see how win or lose.
You need to do 10 without Red Bulls and 10 with Red Bulls. I don't advise you do the ones without Red Bulls just after you do the ones with Red Bulls, because I don't think you'll have any sleep. So there'll be another factor in there, like you going.
Well, the thing is, I
don't drive very well. I'm just saying.
I couldn't sleep for 2 nights after I had the Red Bull. The caffeine levels were so strong; it was something else. But it did get me. We won a arrive and drive day at. There were some amazing team orders, mind you, with my brother and I. I've got a great picture that oh yeah, no, because my brother was in it with we both did this arrive and drive day, and my sister and her husband came to watch, and we were thinking that we'd had a really good run through the field, and I'd managed to get into the final, and I said to my brother, right, when we come round, because he was starting first on the grid, I was about 6th or 7th for this final. It was the one before the final. It was a semi-final. And he said, right, what I want you to do is to go as fast as you can, but then slow down when you get to the first corner and hold everybody up. And I'll try and come round on the right-hand side. And he did it. And I went from like 8th to 1st, going by the end of that first corner, because I just knew what he was going to do. And I came right the way around and passed him. And then I got into the final. And then I won it.
That's like the driving equivalent of insider trading.
Yeah, it was.
It's like, evil man.
That is a great statement. That is a great state. We need to put that on our that could be our running thing for our YouTube channel for the show. And the equivalent of insider trading on our skills in terms of team orders. That now, Kiwi said
the men who think that insider trading means making money from indoors.
Oh, that's the thing. That now Kiwi was saying it can be frustrating. I made the comment to Greasy the other day that him getting a corner wrong means he was 6 milliseconds late on the gas pedal, and for me waiting for the tow truck to get me out of the gravel. That as he responds, but yeah, no, it is quite a thing, isn't it? I
do have. I mean, you watch Arkies and you. I think Arkies is the king of this.
Oh, Arkies is way
when he
better
goes,
than me.
I'm going to. It's very disciplined, and he talks about getting frustrated, but I think his level of frustrated is a different level. Is a very different level to mine, certainly.
Yeah,
maybe
he got a 46.6 on.
I am going to do this for an hour, and he'll find it. I didn't like this track, and then he keeps doing it and keeps doing it and keeps doing it and keeps doing it, and then
it comes down. And he finds a way of.
He does a time, and it's not a very good time. And I'm looking at his time, going, the last video I saw, I can't actually remember. It was at Sardinia. And I like Sardinia. It's one of the early ones I got to know a bit. I quite like the track. And I'm watching him do it, and he does this time, and I'm like, let me just look up what the last time I did on this circuit was.
Yeah.
And it was 20 seconds slower than him. And I'm like,
yeah.
And then he gained another 8 seconds over the time.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well, I wrote a load of comments that asked him nasty questions like, do you think? Well, but the first one was a good one because there's they've got those two nasty right-handers, like 90-degree right-handers. And he bashed the inside wall, which knocked him out, made him hit the... Well, no, he didn't hit the other wall, but he ended up on the grass and he had to lift off and slow down. He must have lost about 5 seconds for that. Penalty, invalidated lap immediately. And I'm like, that is why I hate these time trials, some of them. Because you make one tiny little mistake like that, you've done really well for the rest of the lap. And the lap might be 2-3 minutes long or something. You're going around Spa and you make one tiny little mistake, which slowed you down a lot, and the whole lap's done. And this is when I start going and stamping on things like the throttle and the brake and just hitting the walls and going, and that's it. And I just give up. I've had it. No, I can't even get one time.
Yeah, it's so annoying. Is it when they start you on the server? So it's your first, not even your start. You haven't even crossed the line, and it doesn't even let you slow down enough to get around the first corner that you face before you even get to it. And so you've got to be, as soon as you start, you've got to be on the brakes. You're going to be on the brakes straight away to try and get it round. And you're like, can you not just start us on the start-finish straight? Wouldn't that be just be easier so that we can actually go without crashing?
I would rather be stood still. I'll accelerate up to whatever speed, and then first lap's a sighting lap anyway, and then the next lap you'd full speed and you can sort it all out. But
now
like me,
Kiwi, yes, he has come up with a great point.
We have learnt through music to persevere. You need to tell Helen. So that's nobody else understands it, but Helen does. I wish I could play the piano. She can play the piano. Oh, she's like, tinkling, tinkling, tinkling. Oh, I made a mistake. Oh! So I understand it because I like,
But he has said, like a musician, we have learned through music to persevere, analyze, and react quickly. And also, there's a lot of mental thing in that as well. When you're imagining as you play what it's supposed to sound like, so you're kind of your fingers are already kind of seeing those notes ahead of you and ready to play. Isn't it? So it's and I suppose like in playing this game, you got to look far ahead, and be prepared for the next corner. I think maybe depending on the setup, it's quite easy not to look far enough ahead as you play this game, and then that can slow you down.
So annoying. I think this is one of the things that where I get friendly, helpful people trying to advise me on doing things, but they don't know how I work. So you're talking about, these patterns, this kind of stuff. Everything, and this is how my brain works, and it's how I've worked as a scientist. Everything is a series. It's a pattern.
Yeah.
When I memorize numbers, I can still remember the first telephone we got when I was growing up. I can still remember the number. Okay. Yeah. But it's a pattern. It's da da da, and it's really weird. Yeah. It's like my phone number. Someone I do it in threes.
Yeah.
Da 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 da, something like that. It's like a rhythm. But my current phone number, I remember in twos. Da 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 da. And then someone will say, "Is it da 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 da?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Is it?"
Yeah, that can throw you with a mobile number.
Yes, it is. It is that. What you just said apparently is the same as what's in my head, but it isn't. And it's the same. This is, you talk about you get into a flow.
Yeah.
It's when the patterns all come together, and it's down to the sound of the engine and everything. So it can't. It's no good someone saying on this corner you must do that. That doesn't work until I get to do it on that corner, and then I can incorporate into the weird way my brain works. Plus the fact, and then when you add on to that the inability to actually with reactions and making it automatic. Yeah.
Now, Kiwi has said, Roo, your ability to remember stats baffles me. Very impressive. Now, I was going to say to Kiwi, what kind of rig do you have?
Used to be a lot better. A lot better. So I'm serious. I can't play the piano. Bash some keys like a monkey is what you are, a monkey. More like a orangutan, actually. Look. It's because you're Welsh. That's what it is. It's because you're Welsh.
But no, I think also even just positioning of the rig is important, like how you sit on your rig and how it all works, because that can help. Anything that can help you to get a bit, not to be distracted. It's almost like if you're too close to the wall, that wall's going to come in your line of focus, isn't it? You need to have space around you, and you need to have the right kind of balance with with how far away the monitor is to where you're sitting. Make sure you can see everything properly and hear everything properly.
Well, I know you've improved since getting that rig because it doesn't flex as much as the place. And I'm super pleased I've got a Play Seat Challenge because otherwise I'd be on this. It was awful when I used to clamp it to this desk, mainly because the whole desk used to move when I'm doing stuff. But the worst bit was the pedals.
Yeah.
Now I'm having a problem with the pedals now because now I've discovered, you can calibrate the pedals. So to stop me having to push them so hard, I calibrated it so that like 80% full brake pressure. Except I don't think it really works that way. Okay, on the screen you get that, but I have noticed that I get more stopping power if I really mash the pedal.
Yeah, something that's what you have to do. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, even if it's calibrated and on the screen that bar goes to maximum, it isn't. But then the whole thing lifts up. Play Seat Challenge.
Now, Kiwi has said that he's got a prime light. That's the GT Omega prime light. That's a nice rig, actually. A DD Pro. Now, that's a very good wheel and pedals. That's a very, very good wheel and it's also got a load cell on it. A 50 centimeter Samsung OLED. That's a nice one. And lots of LED strips. I race in disco mode. Yeah, I've got a little bit of LEDs here, and I've got a few more. I've put them around the television to kind of brighten things up a bit. But the DD Pro, because that is a really good wheel. And when I get as I'm putting my new sim rigs into the shop in Newcastle, when that comes about in September, I did look at the DD Pro. I also looked at the Thrustmaster. Is it Thrustmaster TGT? Because there's one of those as well, which is about £500 or £600, and that seems to be because that's built for Gran Turismo and games like that, and it seems to get quite a good one. But the DD Pro, I'm trying to think who makes that. That's not a Fanatec, or is that who makes the DD Pro again? That's not the Logitech DD Pro, is it? I don't think it's maybe it's a Thrustmaster. That I've mentioned all of the manufacturers, so one of them must be right. But no, I'd be interested because the DD Pro people do like that, especially when you've got the load cell pedals. But it started about 4 years ago with a G29 and a Play Seat Challenge. That's a Fanatec, right? Fanatec DD Pro. Now, of course, with all the issues with Fanatec, recently, haven't they? They've been bought out, or they're about to be bought out, and they almost went bust. So I don't know if their deliveries are still on track, but hopefully we'll get that will kind of get back to normal. And because Fanatec, they've got some great equipment, and I'm really really trying to consider what I'm going to use. Am I going to use? I don't think I'll use Logitech, to be fair. So I'm really more thinking about Thrustmaster or Fanatec. I think those two, unless the Moza make a great wheel, but it's really for PC, and I'm not sure whether I'm going to use. I'm really kind of wondering: do I use console or do I use PCs? There's probably a bit more scope if I use PC.
Is it the GT Pro? That one that they're sort of like a mid. Is it? I don't know. What do you call it?
Yeah, it's about £1,100 or something, is it not?
Yeah. I know it's expensive, but it's if you compare it to other. Let's see, is that going to work? Yes. Fine.
Yeah, that's better. There we are.
I kept thinking there's like a film on it. That's like it. But it's not. It was a bit dirty, so maybe that didn't help. But
that's better now. German Kiwi was saying Greasy Sam Squatch has had real issues with his Fanatec. He has to send stuff back and all sorts. So I would like to try and avoid that because I need reliable, tough sim rigs that can obviously last the test of time with lots of people using them.
G923, and that's played up.
It's not great. It's really not good. Really it's just not good for GT Sport. It's a bit better for other games, for the PC games.
So your ACC
it's a bit better.
All that kind of stuff.
But for Gran Turismo, it's really not very good, and it was quite a lot of money. It was about £280 when I got it. I had about £100 off it. So I'm looking at maybe either the Thrustmaster GGT, which seems to be quite popular, or something quite decent. I like the Moza wheel. It looks great. It looks like a kind of touring car wheel. I would quite like that. But it's also the cost because I want to keep things relatively sane because you don't want to be having too much expensive equipment there. So it really needs to be reliable. But so this Thursday, when this update happens, all you've had to do is about 2.5 years, no real problems. Grizzly was extremely unlucky. Yeah, because they've got a really good reputation, Fanatec, over the years for getting great stuff. I know that I'm sure it's Rory uses Fanatec, hasn't he? He's got all the different wheels.
A lot of them do, don't they? Taya, she used to use a Fanatec, didn't she?
Yeah.
Fanatec or Fanatic? Because I always thought it was Fanatec.
I think Fanatec. Yeah, Fanatec.
Fanta, But then I realised Fanatic, like you're.
Yeah, it could be. It could be.
I wonder whether they intended it to be Fanatic, but everyone started calling it Fanatec, and they just went, "Oh, okay, we give up."
I wonder, is anyone going to be going?
Marketing department trying to be clever.
There's a big sim racing show. I think it's is it September time? September, October in Germany. They have the European sim racing show. It used to be at the Nürburgring, which was great, but now I think it's going to be in another part of Germany this year. I know that Josh Martin is going to be at that. He's going to have stands. In fact, Josh Martin is going to join us for an exclusive live stream on Wednesday at just after 5. I've got the post up there for that.
Presumably, you'll be asking him lots of questions about the partnership with.
That's David Perel's. That's David Perel's. He does the ACC.
I thought Josh was involved in Sim Grid as well.
Yes, originally.
I know he's got his Sim staff thing. I know that, but I thought he was also.
He was with them for. He was, but he's now left to run his own company to run Sim stuff.
Okay, I didn't realise.
So that'll be a really good special because Josh has done huge events. Children in Need, F1. He was at Goodwood. They had multiple stands at Goodwood that they were supporting. In fact, he's just done a video on his YouTube channel there, which is well worth watching because it's got all the kind of stuff that they do, and you can actually work for them. They're going from strength to strength. And they're all over the world now, not just in Britain.
Just don't try and contact them over Discord.
And I think you have to be invited or go through the website, which is simstaff.net. But we'll get that. I'll make sure it's in the. That was maybe my fault.
All your fault.
I don't know how I manage it.
We
manage it. But no, they even do commentary and events and all sorts of stuff. And filming. You can sell the hot dogs at my site in Newcastle.
I'm not moving to the northeast, all right? I gave up the chance to go to Newcastle University, Poly, many years ago, all right?
There's 10% off for all our
members of my family
subscribers.
I don't like up there. 10% off. 10%
For our
off
subscribers. I might even get, if you come from abroad, I might even be more generous than that.
Look, my family moved away from Northumberland, Scotland, Northumberland. They came south. They got to the East Midlands and thought, this is south enough. Thank you very much. And I migrated a bit further north, back again, and then went, no.
That was enough.
West.
That was enough.
West. Well, I'm as north as mostly as north as I was, Huddersfield.
So are we all
west?
Are we all hoping that this Thursday we're going to see GT7 kind of take a big step forward, and hopefully with this new physics platform that they've got?
I want to know what the physics is going to be like, because I am reflecting a little bit back on what you were saying about how it keeps changing. I am so sick and tired of the physics changing. I really liked the physics at the beginning, and then all the GTS is not good enough. It's not like GTS anymore. It's too much like a car. And so they turned it into GTS, which I despised and couldn't get friendly with. And then they've been sort of like going, we'll fiddle with this, we'll fiddle with that, we'll make it like that. And every time you get an update, it's different. And it's like, oh, God, just pick one.
Yeah.
You've got this. They went on and on and on. Ian will say. They went on and on and on and on and on about how they've got this fantastic new physics model, and it's so realistic and it's better than everything else. And I thought it was pretty good as a car driver that can't afford to run a car anymore. It's like you used to say that the great thing about these games, sim racing, is that you get to drive and race in a way you'd never be able to, because we haven't got the money and all the things you need. There's a reason why there's only 100,000 racing drivers in the world. It's because it costs a lot of money. Not just because they're not good enough. It's because it costs a lot of money. You're right. For
even
me,
sim racing costs a fair bit.
Well, if you're going to do it properly, I've been very lucky that I've had some very wonderful people in my life, Mr. Hatrick, the horrible cow. But even with that, the thing I really liked about it was that it finally felt like I went for drives. That's why I love the Nordschleife.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody's like, oh, the Nordschleife is so hard. I love it. Even if I'm not that fast, I have so much fun on it. And I have not said this for ages, so I'll bring it back into the tradition of something I always say. It's like the A470 going through north-south in Wales, which is my second favourite road I've ever driven on. My favourite road being the road from the A9 north of Pitlochry across to Fort William, past Loch Lagan, which is also where I saw my first osprey. But it's got every kind of corner, every kind of camber, every kind of road surface, every kind of braking zone. And I'm talking about the A470 and the Nordschleife. And so I'm in a car again. I call it my car. I don't call it a rig. It's my car. And I sit in my car and I find the type of car I like best to go on it. And I go for a drive.
Yeah.
And I
You can probably do that on Forza, because Forza's got all these different maps, haven't they, for all the different things. There's a few.
Forza? No, I've not got Forza, because that's Xbox only, isn't it?
Yes, I think it is.
Yeah,
PC.
That's probably that. Yeah, Forza. I've got Project Cars. I found that in a charity shop, and I've done that a little bit. It was okay, but the physics was not as good as GT7.
Yeah.
Now, ACC, the physics is excellent, especially as a racing car. Excellent. I can't handle the game though, because it's like it doesn't let you just drive the damn things.
Yeah,
it's annoying. But yeah, it's and then they changed it, and it stopped it feeling like a car again.
Yeah,
it felt like the game, and then it's changed again and changed again. So whatever happens, is it the 26th?
Hopefully,
now, Thursday, 26th.
Yeah, Thursday. Yeah.
Whatever happens, I just hope it feels like a car again. It feels like something that I can sit in. I'm not going to be the fastest person in the world. I'm not even going to be close to. I'm going to continue to be the slowest person in our little friend group, because that's the way it is.
As long as you enjoy it and or you feel you're going to have fun with it.
What stopped happening? I stopped enjoying it because it was just.
Yeah, it does. If it doesn't feel right, and there's not the feedback, not the emotion with it, not the kind of the fun that you can have in a game, then you're going to go and do something else or play something else.
I mean, I've been driving for 36 years now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
and I've driven a few different types of cars, and I tend to be quick.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
Fast
Kiwi's had to go.
driver.
So bye to Kiwi.
He's
had to head off. He's had to head away. But no, it's great. It's great to have him, as it is to all our viewers and listeners. That no, we just want it. Hopefully, the physics will get better. They've got a few new cars as well. Some BMWs, I think, are coming this week. But yeah, it'd be nice to maybe get some other cars than that, because it all seems to be either similar versions of what we've already got.
It'd be nice if those cars drive in a way that doesn't try to kill you without me having to modify them, because they don't have the old... modifying. I love modifying them, not just because I like fiddling around with stuff, but also because I end up getting a car. I mean, Ian, I don't remember Ian when we were doing the some of the races. Remember when we were doing the races with DWP with Chrissy and Richie. There's Richie and I think Ian hated the Citroen DS3 racing.
Yeah.
I loved it. I got it set up.
It was a great car in real life. Great car in real life. I loved it.
Nice. I've never done one, but they look nice.
Yeah.
It's just I managed to get because it was the way that little series worked is that there was a rear-wheel drive car and a front-wheel drive car, 2 races, and it was you had a maximum weight and a maximum horsepower, but you could do what you like to the chassis.
Yeah.
Or was it a minimum weight? Sorry, a minimum weight and a minimum horsepower, maximum horsepower. But then you could do what you like to the chassis. So that's how instead of the PP points, it was like that. And so you could fiddle with it, and if you could get a good setup and all this kind of stuff. Well, my setup, I loved it. I'd managed to get it so it acted like a proper front-wheel drive little mini car.
Yeah.
There was even when the back end came, you just put your foot down and it dragged it straight again. Like a proper front wheel drive car should.
Yeah.
At least the ones from my era that I'd learned to drive in. It was great. They hated it. They just couldn't get on with it, and I felt bad for them because whatever settings I tried to help them with, they just couldn't deal with it. But then I have the same problem when you have like a daily race and you can't. Or a time trial, and you're not allowed to fiddle with it because I can't get it to behave well.
Yeah, in the same way. Yeah, or it's not geared right, or it's kind of you've got to kind of make do with what
you bogged down.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing I noticed. I think that was in the LFA. I had the traction control off, but it was still slowing down. You know, when you accelerated full whack, you would go up the rev range and it would go, and it was almost as if the traction was on. And I thought that's not right because the traction was clearly off. But DTR is saying, to be honest, the BOP on the road car is awful. Yeah, it can make a real difference, isn't it? It's not great.
They tried to sort of sort it out, and then you get all that stuff down the side. It gives you like, is it performance points? Different gears, and it has like a G-force at cornering and all this kind of. But all that's just rubbish.
Yeah,
it's just whatever numbers is going there. Because I tried to use that. I watched a video, somebody saying how to set it all up and this kind of stuff, with Gran Turismo 7, and I thought, okay, I'll give that a go. And then it's nonsense. It's just nonsense numbers. Yeah. I think there's so much more in Gran Turismo 7 hidden behind the scenes that they don't reveal. Things like tyre temperatures, that they have you could have something that shows you the tyre temperatures, like in ACC, but they don't allow it. They don't put it up. I think I watched a video. It must have been a couple of years ago. Of someone that had seen, or they'd seen something, they were involved with something, and it allowed you accidentally had the temperatures on the screen. Of this thing they were doing, and they were like, so this is obviously there. It's just they don't put it up.
Yeah, maybe in Super GT, because sometimes he goes into the ins and outs of GT7, and I like to see what's in it. But yeah, no, it's quite interesting how it all. I just hope it makes a bit of an improvement, because I do find that it's just a little bit. There's not so much feel, and there's not. It's very hard to drive the car in a realistic sense and get a good lap time.
Yeah.
You've got to really drive it in the gaming sense to be able to do it, and that's what makes it difficult. But no, I think that's the thing. Well, we've been going for an hour and a half, which is not bad going. I'm going to have to call it a night. Yeah, GT8 will be even better. But one last question:
I'm just going to say, is GT8 in
I don't know.
the works, or is that because
that was one of my questions?
How many years was GTS out? It was a long time, wasn't it?
It was a long time. Yeah, it was 2017, or maybe even earlier.
Yeah, 2017.
It did last, and it was 2022. Yeah, so we're only really 2.5 years into it. So you wonder.
Apparently, it is in the works. I guess that makes sense.
I would imagine that it would be halfway through. But I still think it's got a few years yet. GT7's got a few years yet to be done. But my last question:
they've evened out so many little problems, because remember all the criticism and trying to do lobbies and races on GT7 at the beginning was just
it's still slow to do lobbies. Trying
to log on the
lobbies is really slow.
Remember that it was one of the I can't remember what racing series it was, and Ian might remember. It was at Watkins Glen. We got so many laps in, and then all the cars suddenly flew in the air.
That's incredible. Yeah, there was all. I remember them being problems.
Remember that one?
But the EDTM, yeah. But I never, because I was busy driving buses. I can't.
And I just I
missed all that.
What the? What is going on here? We had to stop, and I remember with Phil's, the charity series. Oh, it was a charity series thing, actually. Was it EDTM or was it a charity race? But one of the charity races, we used to have to, when we were doing the charity races with Phil, remember?
Yeah.
And it was meant to be a 2-hour race, but to stop it crashing, we had to do 2 1-hour stints.
Yeah, that's right. I think I even competed in one of them. I did one of them. I think I did one of them, and it was great. It was good fun, actually. But no, that's the thing. Now, I will try and stream this week and do a proper gaming stream, because I've been fiddling with my OBS, and I think I've managed to get it to work now, to actually have a nice clear picture, and hopefully the sound will improve as well.
Cool.
And we'll get that sorted. So my big question is, what races would you like me to do this week? What races would you like me to stream? What do you think is going to be? We've got Spa at race B, or we could do race A as well. But I think either race B or probably race C, which will take some doing. But yes, I hope to do a stream and do one of those 3. So let me know in the comments what you think I should do, as Andrew busily types away to respond.
Well, I'm good at interrupting you talking and other people. I didn't want to do that. It's just Ian's just reminding me of Daytona.
Yeah.
Daytona race. There was this thing where it was a really long race. It was a long race. And this is where we coined the phrase the Phil block. Because something happened with Phil. Some emergency happened, and Phil had to leave. But you could they had it set so that you could put it on pause, and it auto drove.
Yeah,
and the auto drive was just
be right in the way of everybody.
Well, it was incredible, but he had to go for ages. I mean, this was a proper emergency. He had to go, so he put it on this. He didn't know how long it'd be, but it ended up being 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But because of the way this thing drove, it was a kamikaze killer machine going around. The leaders would try and go past, and the computer would take them out.
Yeah.
So we called it, instead of a rolling roadblock, it's a rolling Phil block. That was hilarious. I nearly lost my voice laughing so hard through that race. It was superb. So much fun.
I think we need to try and get some of these what do you call it, the reviews, or the we need to get some of the video footage of some of these famous laps and races, and then see if we can put them through on the video when we do our chat show. I think
do you mean real races?
The replays, yeah, or the replays of some of the races that we've done, or people that have really enjoyed it. That would be quite funny, because we could share that and play it. If we can download them, then we can either we can watch them, and then using OBS you can record it, and then in turn you can do it. Yeah, that was the race you just did.
I've still got some. I mean, I don't really do anything with my channel anymore, and I'm losing subscribers, but I don't really care because it's serving no purpose. But I've got I keep up all the races that I publicised, if you like, even if it's not me that's put them on YouTube, just so that people have got a place to try and look for them. So EDTM, the HHTCR, the charity races, that kind of stuff. I try, and DWP. I tried to put some of them on because I'd stepped right back from doing that because it was getting difficult.
But no, it would be quite fun to put all these, but to put some of those famous clips on it. And we could always just show a few seconds of it. Or if we're able to download it, it should play it through. We managed to do it for our review the last time, so hopefully
I did save a lot of these things. But I mean, I don't know if I've got rid of them or not. I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, and it's open again to the people in the comments.
I know other people.
If you've got any other,
I used to share them. On the PlayStation, not the Play, on the PlayStation, on the
any funny moments we'll figure out a way of getting them to us.
We're going to look at them,
and then we can no, but also ones like it's almost like idiots of the week, with these crashes and silly moves and stuff. That
we used to do that. Remember?
Well, there's a South African chap. Oh, we've had him on the show. Yeah, then we'll get them and we can show them because I think they would be fun.
Looking for stuff like that. I mean,
I presume a bit of fun.
A bit of audience interaction and
no, we could do that.
No problem with it.
Because we managed to get the trailer to work on our video. So
sit here and try not to shout too much like I did in that stupid film review.
But on that note, we will end the show. But look, thank you very much, Rue, for joining me again today, and being a great guest as always on our show. Thanks to everybody who's been watching and listening on the show tonight live, and for everyone on Podbean who'll be listening to this in a couple of days' time. Thank you very much indeed. It's great to have you with us, and please leave a like, or if you're new to the channel, subscribe if you never want to miss this kind of chat as we go every week throughout the year on F1 and also GT7. It's wonderful to have you alongside us. We hope you enjoyed watching it. Thank you for supporting the channel. And thank you to Rue again, and to all our special guests from past, present, and future. You've been watching the Hugh Hatrick Show. Remember to drive fast, but drive your bus even faster. Bye just now, everyone.
Bye from the home office. Oh, dear. Bye, Helen.